Hey guys, Somebody's Gun here. I went through and VOD reviewed both Stretch and teeq from the DreamHack Online Open Grand Finals. These guys did some pretty consistent things, and there was a few pieces that they did which overlapped with one another. So what I want to point out to you guys is, one, crash pads. These guys both prioritize crash pads every game. Then knowing when to go for a refresh and how to go for a refresh instead of just jumping in boxes or trying to make dumb plays. These guys are patient. They play the game out as long as they can and then look to certain areas to try and find refreshes. So check that out in this video. And if you guys do enjoy what you are about to watch and as well find some information helpful, go ahead, click that like and subscribe button. It really is helpful and continue the growth for my channel. So thank you guys for watching. Let's dive right in. One of the best ways that I saw both teeq and Stretch rotate was the use of crash pads. So they both almost always were holding crash pads. Rarely did they not hold them, and they were doing tricks so that they didn't have to leave their box. They were using cones, ramps, floor edits to be able to crash pad out of a box and then using multiple crash pads here to rotate. It winds up saving them tons of mats so they're not fully tunneling into zone. And then they're able to both get ahead and box up in zone, then turn around to look back. Here's going to be another example of Stretch using the crash pad. So instead of boxing up and rotating a ramp, this is going to be on the move. He sees he has a free rotate a little further, then rotates a ramp backwards to get extra distance on his crash pad. Then we're going to see him do this time and time again. He's on or in a box. He's going to box up next to him, and then he's going to pressure a wall off to the side. So he boxes up this entire box here to his right. So he controls the box to his right. Then there's a player diagonally to his right in the box that he's in. This is a position that we see players get refreshes in a lot. And this is how I would recommend getting it. People will accidentally put themselves in this position time and time again during moving, fifth zones, rotating. So take advantage of this like Stretch does. He's able to catch Tabs G sleeping, grabs the wall, and then a big charge shot to start the engagement. Tabs is now trapped in between his own ramp and Stretch's wall. He doesn't really have anywhere to go. Stretch knows he can outlast this battle unless Tabs charges him. So an easy engagement for Stretch to win here and a perfect refresh. They're in the box together, so the loot's not going to be flying all over the place. Stretch is able to take advantage of this refresh, and that's something that we don't always see from players. They might get elims, but they're not always able to grab the actual mats, heals, weapons that come with it. Alright, so once again, we're going to see teeq using the crash pads here to rotate. Does a fantastic job. Always is going to crash pad within his box if it's the first one. He doesn't expose himself before he uses the crash pad and always gives himself a second to think while he's boxed up. This is awesome because, one, during these rotations you really only have to build a couple boxes, and then you could crash pad from each box, use a couple of crash pads, and then box up in zone as we see here. We're going to watch out for this entire rotation here. Again, seeing him make these simple yet super effective rotations with the crash pads. He's still got two left, in a great position, has great loot. And what we're going to wind up seeing is him looking for a refresh here. And what he does really well is understand where the shambles players are going to be within certain zones. So he knows if he can find an angle towards the back end of zone or catch someone sleeping on what I call a corner or edge of zone during a rotation, he can find fairly free refreshes. It's something that a lot of players struggle with, but was awesome to see teeq be able to do consistently here during the FNCS finals. Again, we're just watching these crash pad plays. I want to emphasize this. We're going to watch a few from Stretch as well because my guys both do a wonderful job making these rotations. But here comes that refresh that I'm talking about. He's going to find a player rotating below him, but the player below him is going to be rotating on the edge of zone and leaving his side open. teeq is going to be able to recognize this and then jump on his side. So he identifies this player here, gets some tags, gets some information on him. This is not the player that was rotating edge zone, but this is simply looking back towards the backside, towards the dead side, and finding a shambles player in Toos that's going to give him an easy elim. Then he once again sees a player down below, going to gather some information on what's going up above, but this guy below him is going to be a free kill because he's not paying attention. teeq's able to start off this fight with huge damage and then follow up with it here. Now, much better position to play this game out. He's going to look to go ahead and win the game because this is something I talk about a lot. You play for placement up to a certain point, and then you need to try and make plays to win the game. So at this point, he's going to try and make a play to win the game. Looks to crash pad onto height, does so effectively, plays zone a little slowly, and then it's a pretty solid fight here against Noah Riley on high ground. teeq doesn't play it perfectly, nonetheless wins it. You have to make and take shots. You have to make and take opportunities in order to win. And then we see him clutch up through the rest of this game. So popping off at the right time, taking risks when necessary is key to winning games. teeq avoids most risks until the last minute, and then because he's in a good position health-wise, not exactly when he fought Noah Riley, but before he started the first two refreshes that he got, you see him consistently getting refreshes because he's looking back into the dead side, or not the dead side, but the backside of zone, finding players that are out, not paying attention. He's scouting his refreshes. He's not just jumping into boxes. He's making educated plays and decisions here. So we see Stretch here. He's in a top 15 position. He's made it as far as he possibly can with no materials. And he knows now it's time to make plays. Now it's time to try and get his refresh, to try and get his elim. Doesn't get the one on day, but he doesn't force it. You know, a lot of players you would see force the issue, try and go get that refresh. Eventually, another one comes up. Zextro is also shambles, so Stretch is able to take advantage of that one. And it's his patience to wait for the right refresh. Now extending his game just a little bit longer, and that's what it's really all about. You want to just continue to extend the game. And then here's going to be just another amazing, not necessarily amazing, but just like great play here by Stretch. Able to find a nice elim onto Bully, grabs some more materials, once again pushing his placement even further. And it's just the patience and the know-how to just stay alive. Because the longer you stay alive, the more these kinds of things are going to fall into your lap. Both of those shots were one shots. Stretch wasn't doing a ton of work. And just having the ability to stay alive in games and then take the opportunities for shots when they're given to you is 100% the way to play these games. You can set up refreshes and, you know, sometimes they just don't fall into your lap. But what always will fall into your lap is opportunities to take shots on players, and that's what Stretch does. He will always find an opportunity and take advantage of opportunities to shoot at players. So just showing you guys that there. All right, so once again, we're going to see Stretch using these crash pads to rotate. It's going to get him to the front side of zone. In a great position here now as he's front side. He's already in zone. And we see these players using the crash pads for rotations. It is 100% worth a spot because they can be so versatile and used for so many things. We'll see him once again get on this dead side here and have a fairly free rotate. And when I was watching this rotation, I'm like, what is he doing? Why is he going so far into Storm? But then you see this, it puts him in such a great position where he's still dead side and once again front side of zone. He may tank a little bit of Storm damage, but the rotation from here is going to be so much easier as opposed to if he went around that building on the opposite side or tried to go over, he would spend more materials. It was a much more efficient rotation, and that's something I've definitely noticed watching Stretch's games. Every single build placement seems to have a purpose, and every time he does it and rotates during end and late games, he's so efficient with those materials, which allows his game just to last that much longer. You know, every time you misplace a build, every time that you misplay something and spend extra materials, that's less placement points that you're going to be able to get by these rotations. So we see him being super efficient. His health isn't the best, but because he's so efficient with his rotates, he's going to be able to stay alive so long. And once again, still shambles positions. But because he still has mats to build out, he's staying alive. He's keeping himself on the front side of Storm, so he can't really get pressured. And he's going to find himself a refresh once he gets in zone here. So he's going to push to the front edge of this zone as it continues to rotate here for 9th. And he knows he needs a refresh. He's not going to wait till he's absolutely no mats. He has about 10 builds left. Now he's starting to look on the backside of zone for people that are going to be shambles. And again, this is going to be one of our keys. You have to find players on the backside of zone. Well, I shouldn't say you have to. You should try to find players on the backside of zone because they're going to be the most shambles. Typically, people on the front edge or people on middle or high layers are going to be in better positions. We see Paper then just walk straight into him because Stretch is being patient on the backside. He doesn't wind up winning this game, but this refresh just extends his game that much longer. Instead of dying in 7th or 8th, he's now able to extend his game a little bit, make it to 5th, get those extra placement points as well as that elim. And that's the difference, you know, just continually pushing for an extra placement, an extra elim to extend your games. That is what Stretch does so well, and knowing when to go for those plays instead of just simply rotating. Phenomenal play by him. And sometimes you just have to pop off. Like, both these guys have the ability to make big plays in the end game, but typically play more passively to try and gain as many placement points as they can. Then, once their materials reach a certain point, or they can no longer just rotate without going through someone, they make plays, they get elims, and push themselves upwards in placement, because at the end of these games, placement comes through elims as well. So it's not simply just getting an elim point, but you're also getting the placement points that are stacking on top of this. We see teeq trying to avoid as many engagements as he can, but eventually he gets to a point with no materials. He needs to look for elims, and he knows other players are shambles at this point in the game. He does a fantastic job of picking up a couple of elims here and then staying alive as long as possible. Eventually, he loses to a Nas, who's on high ground here with the caddy launcher. So I'm going to speed this up so that we're not stuck here watching Stretch just simply take tags at people. But here's an important factor that people don't think about while playing the game. In these stacked lobbies, you need to have a storm surge plan, and my guy Stretch does this perfectly. I've seen him based on the last FNCS and then what he did in DreamHack Solos. He loves to position himself on this hill and take control of this entire area of the map, and that's why I'm going to start calling this Stretch's Hill. This is 100% his. After his performance and the way he commands and holds this hill, he deserves to have it named after him. But we see this storm surge plan and control of the lobby. What this does is, one, it gives him the ability to manipulate and push people in certain directions, away from him, underneath him. Whatever he chooses, he's going to slight people in certain ways based on the way he pressures them, doesn't pressure them. That way he's controlling this area of the zone. And then he's also going to get a lot of storm surge tags. So one of the keys to being able to not take storm surge is getting a lot of damage from a distance. Because every time you take an engagement, you're running the risk of dying in that engagement. So if you can get a good bit of storm surge tags at a distance like Stretch does here, It's going to be a perfect plan to rack up the damage and then just continuously, get a 25 tag, get a 30 tag, get a 25 tag, get another 25 tag. And that's what I've seen be the most effective. You don't want to get stuck, playing box to box and then not knowing who you're fighting because you may just die anyway. This is the safest, most effective way to get Storm Surge as well as manipulate and control an area of the zone. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I was really trying to highlight some of the best things that these guys do. They deserve all the credit. They played amazingly well to win DreamHack and just kind of gave us a blueprint as to how they consistently play these games. So I hope you guys learned something from the video. I hope it was helpful for you. If you did enjoy the video, please feel free to like and subscribe to my channel, as well as, go check me out on Twitch. I stream regularly at twitch.tv/somebodysgun, do VOD reviews, do viewer VOD reviews. So if you want to get reviewed by me, go ahead, join my Discord, submit your own VOD review, and join the stream. So that's all I got for you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.